A picture-perfect season opener awaits us at White Bear Lake High School for the kickoff to high school football 2025. The White Bear Lake area Bears hoping to take a step forward. Their first step, the Park of Cottage Grove Wolfpack, a team they have not seen in 11 years. Greetings, everyone. I'm Mike Peden. Here I am all by myself, talking to myself. That's Chaos Theory. And before we get into the game, I think it's only appropriate that we acknowledge what took place yesterday at Annunciation School. And we certainly would like to extend our support to everyone involved in that senseless act. But as always, no matter what happens, we do our best to move forward, and that's what these two teams will be doing this evening at White Bear Lake. As usual with the season opener, plenty of new looks for White Bear Lake. Some new receivers in their court, but they do bring back their starting quarterback, Tomi Animesan. Played in 9 games, 165.3 passer rating, or yards per game, I should say, 71.9 rating. For the Bears, the key will be finishing games. As you saw a year ago in SEC, they hung in there with some of the best in Class 6A, but they had a hard time getting to the finish line first. Animesan, who threw for over 54% of his passes a year ago successfully, that would lead you to believe they would have a strong core, and they also bring back Brian White III, their starting running back. They'll have some new receivers in the lineup, so we'll see how long it takes for everyone to settle in. Park of Cottage Grove, 2-7 a year ago. They're trying to build their way forward. They've had a lot of lean years. They have a new quarterback who will be leading the way in Easton Erickson. But they do bring back their starting running back, Cody Akins. He averaged just over 6 yards per carry, 9 touchdowns, 67 yards per game. Park of Cottage Grove, they have some tough assignments ahead of them in the 2025 schedule, but a win over White Bear Lake would certainly get them in a solid direction. There is the lowdown of our two teams. We'll have plenty more coming your way live on SEC.
There I was, 16, divorced, remarried with a baby, another on the way, and I could barely read or write. It was time for me to change my life and the lives of my family, so I went back and I got my high school diploma. That was the catalyst I needed. Now I have a bachelor's, a master's, and I became a teacher.
Mom, this is your very first yearbook.
Your commitment to education motivates me, your coworkers, and your students.
You showed me that if you come from nothing, you can still be anything.
You told me I deserve to succeed. It's been 15 years, and I still live by that.
You're the model for success for your kids, grandkids, and your students.
When I look at all these success stories, I cannot help but think it all started by getting my high school diploma.
When you graduate, they graduate. Visit finishyourdiploma.org to find free and supportive adult education centers near you.
In any other sport, this would just be another regular old conference matchup, but as you know, with high school football, teams are split into districts, and that is why Park of Cottage Grove and White Bear Lake haven't played each other in 11 years. I'm still Mike Peden, in case you're wondering, and White Bear Lake ready to go. You may notice with Park of Cottage Grove, they were the first team in the state and among the first in the nation to adopt the Guardian caps. Helmets that are designed to better absorb contact impact to the head, which can reduce concussions. As you know, that is something every level of football takes seriously with a sport as physical and intense as the American variant of football. White Bear Lake will receive the first half kickoff. And this is the time of the year where it's really difficult to assess the matchup because there's not a lot of precedent. Easton Miles and Antonio Brown ready to receive the kick. Brown, the freshman. Miles, the senior. And Matthew Kamande will be the kicker for the Wolfpack. The first of many games we'll bring you on SCC this fall as we kick off another year of high school football. This one is deep. Having to backpedal was Miles as he fields it near the goal line. Finds a seam up the left side. This will be a solid return as he is run out of bounds just shy of the 40. It looks like they will spot him at the 39-yard line. So a return of about 36, 37 yards, and we already have an injured player as we take a look on the replay. Easton Miles, good blocking, and that gave him a seam to run through along the left side. White Bear Lake will have good field position, but a Wolfpack player is down on the field, and that is number 21, Alex Jadu, on the first play of the season. It's a sight that I have seen, unfortunately, more than once. Volleyball and soccer, as you know, began last week. And we had an injury take place in Blaine's season opener before the first point was played. Jadu, the 5'11 senior, being examined by the trainer. Looks to be all right as he gets up and walks off. Didn't see what happened, but White Bear Lake will start their first series of the new year at their own 38. And as usual, we'll scroll the starters on the screen for you as this game moves along. Tomi Animasan, his last first start, being the senior. Parents and seniors love to say that, last first day as high schoolers. Miles in motion on 1st and 10. Animasan keeps looking for space up the middle, and he'll move the pile forward a few yards. It will give him a gain of 6 as he is tackled at the 44-yard line. Animasan did get a solid number of carries a year ago as we take another look. On the keeper, just used his speed and momentum to pick up a few yards. Last year averaged 2.7 yards a carry and ran for a touchdown. White, the leading receiver, at 6 yards per carry. Animasan, quick throw into the flat, and it's incomplete. Byron White, the intended receiver. Not to be confused with Brian White III. Byron is his name. So that will make it 3rd down and 4 on the first possession of the year. White Bear Lake 3-6 a year ago. Park of Cottage Grove 2-7. Both were bounced in the first round of the 6A state tournament playoffs a year ago. Animasan in the pistol. Quick screen and nowhere to go. Breaking the tackle, but still losing a yard is Byron White. And it looks like White Bear Lake's first series will be a 3-and-out. Good defense by the Wolfpack. And as you saw in that play, just not a lot of coverage, not a lot of help for Byron White to do much with it on that screen pass. So we'll get our first look at special teams. The punt returner, Nolan Cease for the Wolfpack. Animasan also the punter. This one a bouncer, and it will roll into the end zone. Almost, but a little too much zip. And the Wolfpack will start at the 20-yard line. As you know, at the high school level, we don't use the NFL rules for touchbacks. So we still start at the 20. I understand this year they'll start at the 35. And we'll get our first look at Eston Erickson, the new quarterback for the Wolfpack. Did not play, to our knowledge, did not play much, that is, a year ago. And that's because he was behind Mishkir Asias, who threw for over 1,200 yards. 1st and 10 with 10:07 left in the first quarter. Player in motion, it's Commande. He gets it on the pitch and around. He's got plenty of space down the right side, past midfield, pushed out of bounds by Easton Miles, but Commande picks up a huge chunk of yards along the way. They will spot him just shy of the 37-yard line. "43-yard pickup on the first play from scrimmage for Commande, the 6'1" senior. On first down, pass complete to Ben Andrews, and it will be another first down pickup for the Wolfpack as Andrews scraping for a few extra yards. "14-yard pickup on the first passing play. And the first pass completion for Eston Erickson. Wolfpack continuing their hurry up. 1st and 10 at the 23. Erickson rolls right, wants to go downfield. Pump fakes and throws a lob out of bounds. He's outside the pocket, so no intentional grounding. It will be 2nd and 10.
Second down.
You're going to see a few players rotate in and out in the Park of Cottage Grove lineup, and one particular note for the Wolfpack, they don't have a designated tight end. They do it more by committee. So you'll see a lot of rotating figures for the Wolfpack as Commande takes the pitch. He picked up 43 on the first play from scrimmage on the same formation, but White Bear Lake not hibernating this time. They push him out of bounds for a loss of about 4. And that puts Park of Cottage Grove in a tough spot. 3rd and 14. Probably outside of field goal range if they don't gain any yards here. Pistol formation for Erickson. 3-step drop, going for it all. The throw, incomplete, but we may have a pass interference call. Miles is hanging on to Caleb Mifta. Let's see if that is indeed the call. You have to give the receiver a fair shot. You can't grab them by the jersey.
Defensive pass interference. So we're going to enforce it half.
From the looks of it, it will be a penalty on White Bear Lake.
Pass interference on the defense,
And
number
it is
21.
pass interference.
Penalty be enforced half the distance to the goal. First down.
That will be 15 yards or half the distance in this case, and Park of Cottage Grove will pick up a first down on what would have been 4th and 14. So with 9:14 to go, the Wolfpack, by virtue of the penalty, make their first red zone trip. I think what they're trying to figure out is the yardage. The official telling the chain gang to move the chains. It is a first down. It will be 1st and 10 at the 11-yard line. Wolfpack receive a gift. Will they make the most of it? Let's find out as the play clock winds down. A fake, quick pass, and running into the end zone is Nolan Cease. Erickson with his first touchdown completion as the starting quarterback, and Cease gives the Wolfpack the first score of 2025. As you saw in the replay, Erickson pulled off the fake going left and then slung it quickly to Cease along the right. Cease found a gap, ran right through it. And in 59 seconds, Park of Cottage Grove finds their way to the end zone. They'll take a timeout. Interesting call here on a point after.
Washington Square Bar and Grill for sponsoring our player of the game. The player of the game will be announced next week on White Bear Lake Football's.
So with 9:08 left in the first quarter, we await the PAT for Park of Cottage Grove in a matchup that again features two teams who are deep in the pack in 6A. You have to think Maple Grove, Minnetonka, the Lakeville schools among the contenders as we get a field level view of the Erickson to Cease touchdown. And there's a look at one of the architects of that play. Rick Fricklin, the head coach of the Wolfpack. And up and down that starting lineup again, Park of Cottage Grove, they have a few guys listed, but they're not afraid to rotate in and out. Commandi, who started the series with that 43-yard run, will attempt the extra point. And he boots it through. So, a 5-play, 80-yard drive in 59 seconds gives the Wolfpack a 7-0 lead over the White Bear Lake area Bears. We mentioned the Guardian Caps on the Park of Cottage Grove side. If you've had a chance to see the White Bear Lake side, and if you haven't, the cheerleading squad is exponentially larger than usual. There are a lot of young cheerleaders out there. I don't think I've ever seen that for a game. The regular cheerleaders will handle the more complex choreographed routines, but it's a good way to get them involved. And of course, there are lots of ways for young men and women to get involved in the sport of football. A few years ago, Heidi Barber was a quarterback on the football team. Of course, she's playing softball now at UConn. One of the most distinguished athletes to come out of White Bear Lake in recent memory. So White Bear Lake will try to answer. Remember, they had Park of Cottage Grove facing fourth down, but a pass interference call. The Wolfpack a fresh set of downs and ultimately the touchdown. As White Bear Lake looking for another solid return, and they'll get to about the 30. There's a good lane running by Antonio Brown. The Bears, who went 3 and out in their first series, will try to do one better at the 30-yard line. A couple of graduates from White Bear Lake who were key pieces, Ben Lockwood and Porter Cleary. White Bear Lake didn't have a lights-out running game. We mentioned Brian White leading the team in yards per carry at about 6 per game. But when you look at the two sides, the running game wasn't necessarily the strongest asset. I imagine both teams hoping to change that this year. And for the Bears, again, they have a lot of fight. We saw that a year ago. They could hang with a lot of teams if they can get in front and finish in front. That's going to be the key. But they have a favorable matchup next week. We'll talk more about that as the game goes along, as we get our first run play for the Bears. And it results in no gain as Brian White III could not find the edge. His first carry results in no yards. Animasan did have a 6-yard carry in the first series. And when you engage in these edge routes, that's where you need the linemen, those blockers, to give you space to push forward, and there just wasn't much available for Brian White. He actually lost a yard. So it's 2nd and 11, quick screen, pass caught. Turning upfield for a few yards is Byron White.
Pass caught by number 83, Byron White.
White Bear Lake needed a big chunk, and Byron White gave it to them, picking up 9 on the play. 3rd and 2 at the 38. White Bear Lake. Too early to say it's do or die time, but they would love a conversion here. Screen pass to Byron White. Tried to turn his way forward, and Park of Cottage Grove penetrates and wraps him up short of the line to gain. Officially a 1-yard pickup. I don't see the punting unit coming out yet. White Bear Lake, we'll see if they go for it or if they try to draw Park of Cottage Grove offside. There's still 20 seconds on the play clock. They will go for it. The run. Will it be enough? It will, not by much, but Brian White III extending his reach just enough to pick up 2 and the first. Ryan Bartlett making an early gutsy call. But sometimes if you're trying to generate momentum on your side, you've got to take those chances. Fresh set of downs. Pistol formation for Animasan. White III tried to sell the fake. Park of Cottage Grove didn't buy it. Animasan tackled for no gain.
Second down.
And as you saw in the replay, number 92 of the Wolfpack, highly attentive. That's Robert Schmitzer, one of the starting linemen. Second and 10. White Bear Lake, their longest play from scrimmage is 6 yards, and somebody got jumpy. And it looks like it's White Bear Lake.
False start number 2. Okay. False start.
False start indeed the call.
Offense number 2. 5-yard penalty.
That was Kean Galvin, who flinched momentarily. So that turns 2nd and 10 into 2nd and 15. Animasan dropping back. Short dump to Brian White. Breaks through the first line of defense. He's got the first down. Plenty more down the right side. Taken out of bounds just inside the 20. And Brian White III bouncing off tacklers. White Bear Lake enters the red zone for the first time on a gain of 45 yards. As you saw in the replay, number 10, E.J. Lang got to him, but Lang didn't really wrap him up or secure him. Bounced off of Brian White. And that was the break the senior running back was looking for. The junior, I should say. Feels like a senior sometimes. 1st and 10 at the 19. First trip to the red zone for the Bears. And Emason keeps sprinting up the middle and picks up another big chunk. Enough for the first down. You can see why Emason was called upon a few times for run plays. He has extremely quick acceleration. And I don't know if that was a fake or if there was a potential mishandling of the ball, perhaps a fumbled exchange. But Emason picking up 10 yards, it's 1st and goal. Miles, the ball carrier. Spin move into the pile, and he picks up 2. And we'll make it 2nd and goal from the 7. In our first football broadcast of 2025, but certainly not the last. Another season, and we're glad to have you alongside on SEC Sports, on TV and online. Brian White looking to dash up that middle lane. He gets another 3 yards. I can't say I had time to scout the kicking game during warm-ups, but 3rd and goal from the 4. If you see this as 4-down territory, White Bear Lake in a good spot. Of course, the closer you get to the goal line, the more bunched up everyone is. White the single back, the carry again, another lunge forward. Gets to about the 2 before he's taken down. And again, how you approach that 3rd down depends on whether or not you see this as 4-down territory. White Bear Lake already had a 4th down conversion on this series. Adrian Eicher looked like he was a little gimpy coming off. Vincent Kazmierczak will come in for him. And Emason is the punter as well, but they are lining up to go for it. On 4th and goal at the 2. Give it to White again. Park, can they stuff him? They do. I don't think he got through. No. A yard short. Everyone knew what was coming. And the Wolfpack live up to their name. Packing up that center area. And as you saw in the replay, what helped the Wolfpack in that defensive stand, Garrett Muzius, number 7, able to get to Brian White, and the camouflage clad fan base appreciating that. Of course, Park now has to start from the 1. They have a long way to go. And they were awfully close to being tackled in the end zone for a safety. There was a sea of humanity along that line, and this is the danger zone when you get those 4th down stops near the goal line. The good news is you keep the other team from scoring. The bad news is you are pinned deep in your own territory. One mishap and you could find yourself giving up some points. Park of Cottage Grove again barely got across the goal line on that 1st down play. They'll try again on 2nd down. Looks like a direct snap. And they get a yard, maybe 2 out of that. Under a minute to go in the 1st. That was Cody Akins, I believe, on the carry. Akins, the leading rusher last year for the Wolfpack. Erickson still in the end zone. And what could be the last play of the quarter. High snap. And White Bear Lake jumping on it. The Wolfpack get it back to the line of scrimmage, so no gain, but it's a win of sorts for the Bears. Even though they were stopped at the 1, they're going to have excellent field position when we start the second quarter, as the Wolfpack only get it to the 3. They'll have to punt it from the back of their own end zone when we come back. Second quarter is upon us, but after 1, Park of Cottage Grove 7, White Bear Lake nothing.
When we have the food we need, we are at our best. We push further. We rise higher. We unlock our full potential. When we are at our best, we have more to offer the world around us. When we have the food we need, we make our communities stronger. Together, we can help everyone get the food they need to thrive. Join the movement to end hunger at feedingamerica.org/actnow.
White Bear Lake forcing a 3 and out. Park of Cottage Grove tried to employ a strategy of direct snaps to their running backs in that series, but they couldn't punch through. And as a result, Commande will have to punt from deep in his end zone. It's a low snap. The punt is off, but this one's short. White Bear Lake signaling fair catch. And they're going to start their next series at about the 31-yard line. So like we said, White Bear Lake picking up a win of sorts because of the field position game. Their last drive was stopped at the 1. They don't allow Park to pick up any first downs. And that lack of space, you saw what happened when Commande was pinched off. The low snap didn't help either. Park able to get it off, but White Bear Lake with the best field position of this game so far to start a series. 1st and 10 at the Park 31. Amos on screen. Pass is caught by Byron White. And he scampers along the right side, taken out of bounds. For a gain of 3. If you just joined us, White Bear Lake, again, 3-6 a year ago. Park of Cottage Grove, 2-7. So it would take a lot to put these teams at the forefront of contenders in Class 6A. But as the saying goes, every saga has a beginning. Might as well start this one with a win. Emerson was under heavy pressure, got rid of it, pass incomplete. Intended receiver, the tight end, Mac Wickland. That will make it 3rd and 7. White Bear Lake doesn't use a tight end often, and their starting lineup, 4 receivers and 1 running back. Emerson had to get rid of it. Wickland in the area, of course, so no grounding, but 3rd and 7 for the Bears. White, plenty of space up the middle. A parting of the seas as White swims his way inside the 15. A gain of 15 yards. White Bear Lake, who picked up a 4th down conversion in their last series, they get a 3rd down conversion here. But that's what happens when you give running backs room to run, especially up the middle. They don't have to do anything fancy or complex. Fake to Miles, the throw, quick sling and a catch by Antonio Brown. They spot him at the 4. Brown a little off balance on that laser dart, so it's 2nd and 1. White Bear Lake can get one more first down without scoring. But again, this could highlight the value of field position and what a 3 and out when the other side is pinned near their own end zone, the benefits of doing so. A short field and a chance to right a wrong. Play clock was about to expire, and White Bear Lake will take their first timeout of the half. So both teams have used a timeout. 9:46 to go in the second quarter. 2nd and 1 coming up for the Bears. As we approach Labor Day weekend, the unofficial close to summer. And we highlighted White Bear Lake's record. Let's see how they fared a year ago. For those of you whose memories need a little refreshing. White Bear Lake in the Metro East, again, they use districts. Of course, all of those teams in the Suburban East, and White Bear Lake will get those teams again, if I'm not mistaken, looking at their schedule. Indeed, they will. So the first 3 games outside the district, the remaining 5 all within the district. And there is Park of Cottage Grove in the Metro Maroon. Buffalo won the group. But the schedule gets a little tougher for the Wolfpack this year. They've got Wayzata, Eastview. Next week they take on Stillwater. The Ponies, they've had some great years in recent memory. But back to action here, 2nd and 1 as the lights come on here at White Bear Lake Stadium. Animasan, keeper, lunges forward for the first. Again, White Bear Lake could get one without scoring.
Ball kept by number 5.
Animasan dives to the 2-yard line. Animasan had just 1 rushing touchdown a year ago. But in the open, he had 8 passing touchdowns. Again, a 71.9 rating. Completed 54% of his passes. With this being the first game of the year, obviously we'll have to wait for the stats to come in. 1st and goal. Animasan. Looked like he was in on the first effort, but he will not leave any doubt. The agile, fleet-footed quarterback gets White Bear Lake on the board. A 6-play, 31-yard drive. 2 minutes and 42 seconds for those keeping track. And really, the start of that drive wasn't necessarily the contributions from the offense. It was the 3 and out they forced on defense against Park when the Wolfpack took over the ball on downs at the 1. As the point after by number 3, Lincoln Baca, is through. So we are even at 7, 9:17 left in the second quarter. In a series that included a 15-yard pickup on 3rd down. But remember, White Bear Lake had that big 55-yard or 45-yard play by Brian White in the last series, but they were stopped at about the 2-yard line. Park of Cottage Grove couldn't find any traction on the subsequent series, had to punt deep from their end zone. It was a short punt. White Bear Lake takes the ball over at the 31. And while you would have liked to come away with points on the last series, that was a case of White Bear Lake's offense winning out. They did the grunt work in that first series that ended at the 2-yard line. And by forcing the 3 and out, they gave themselves immensely advantageous field position. And as you saw, a short field can do wonders for your offense. Short kick this time for the Bears. And it's Kamande who gets through the first line and is tackled from behind at around the 40. So the Wolfpack will have solid field position to start their next series with 9:11 to go in the second. They will spot it at the 39-yard line. Erickson in the shotgun formation, empty backfield. Throws into the flat, and nobody is there. Looked like Kamande either stumbled or misread the route. Is one of those deals. Parker Cottage Grove, everybody was running downfield. I thought it was going to be a potential home run play attempt, and instead it's a case of where is everybody? They'll try again. Another screen pass. Kamande picks it up this time, but White Bear Lake meets him at the line. Getting to him first was number 14, Braylon Miner, and Kazmierczak took care of the rest. Kamande held for a minimal gain. And as they spot the ball, I see it is no gain. Open field tackling, always a key attribute on defense. And the Bears, after giving up a touchdown following a pass interference call on their first defensive opportunity, trying to lock in here. Lots of pressure. And blowing up the play is number 29, Christian Humphrey. Another 3 and out for the Bears. A 4-yard loss. You'll see it here. White Bear Lake blitzing. Erickson sensing the pressure, closing in. And there was just no chance for Cody Akins to do anything with it. Back-to-back 3 and outs from the White Bear Lake defense forced against Park. After the Wolfpack scored a touchdown in their first series of the game, Kamande, more room to punt this time, sends a boomer that's caught by Miles. A stutter step past the first defender will give him a few yards on the return as he runs out of bounds past the 40. .724 left in the second. Plenty of time. As the Bears and the Wolfpack hunting for a Week 1 win. In the Wild, I'm not sure how a meeting between Bears and Wolves would turn out. But we don't have to worry about such a meeting here. And Masson and Hands it off to Brian White. Again with Brian and Byron. We'll be using their first names when we can. Brian with a carry of about 3 yards. Closer to 4 after they spotted at the 46, or 3.5, but we'll call it 4 because, as you know, in football, we don't do halves. On the field, that is. Yes, I know you were longing for those patented references of mine, weren't you? 2nd and about 6. White again, stumbling a bit as he tries to cut left, and the Wolfpack break through. White able to get back to the original line of scrimmage. But that brings up 3rd down and about 6. I haven't mentioned it until now, but if you're a fan of gorgeous weather, there is plenty of it. Game time temperature about 76 degrees, dew point 61, so a touch on the humid side, but certainly not oppressive. Pleasant evening for football. Emerson rolls right, wants to throw, well covered, and batting it down is Keon Moody. He gets the deflection. We'll call that a coverage deflection on the part of Park of Cottage Grove. As you saw, number 54, Jesse Wright, advancing toward an Emerson. So the two inter-district foes. It is a little strange saying that for two teams that are in the same conference everywhere else, but they trade back-to-back 3 and outs. Emerson needed a little wind-up for the punt. And he boots it out of bounds at the 28-yard line. So Park will start their next series there. A couple of 3 and outs, one from Hyper Lake, one from Park. Actually, the Wolfpack with back-to-back 3 and outs in their last 2 possessions. Wearing the Guardian caps. John Nesdahl moving into the quarterback position. We knew Park of Cottage Grove would rotate everybody. The first play is a handoff, and slipping on the turf, it looked like, was number 9, Ben Andrews, who is the backup to Akins on the depth chart. I see it was a quick double handoff. Aiken to Andrews, and Andrews gets it to the 35-yard line for a gain of 7. Good job by our camera crew, as always. White Bear Lake smothers John Nesdahl. Once again, Kazmierczak with that long blonde hair. Easy to spot. They faked the handoff. It was a keeper for Nesdahl, and that wasn't Kazmierczak, but I'm sure he won't mind the shout out. That was Logan Gibson. Gibson doesn't have the long blonde locks of Kazmierczak, but I'm sure both will be pleased with that stop. That makes it 3rd and 9. Nesdahl in trouble again. Almost wrapped up from behind. White Bear Lake player loses his helmet as everyone corrals Nesdahl. He'll be stopped well short of the first down marker. Now that was something of a mess. And it began with the pressure inflicted by Teddy St. Martin. You'll see him come from behind. Can't get to Nesdahl, but nobody up front to help block for Nesdal and everyone else for White Bear Lake.
So we got
Comes in on him. There is a flag on the play.
Without a helmet.
And it's against White Bear Lake.
Without a helmet, coach. They got to get out of the play. That's a 15-yard penalty. First down.
And from what I could read on the official, it happened after the play, a personal foul, and Ryan Bartlett is going to get an explanation as he is understandably perturbed. So what would have been 4th down, let's take another look at what happened here. We did see a player's helmet go off, and it could have been the helmet-to-helmet contact, and then maybe Lincoln Baca, I don't know if he touched the face mask or not, but that initial contact, you saw the helmet-to-helmet, and I think that's what they got White Bear Lake for. So Nesdal, fresh set of downs, pump fakes, throws again. Commande with the catch at the 40. Another first down for the Wolfpack. A gain of 12 for the senior. And for a school that is trying to figure out who their quarterback will be. They tried Erickson, now they go to John Nesdal. This is all part of those week 1 evaluations. You have time to practice, but unlike college, or in the NFL in particular, not much of a preseason, no spring scrimmages. High snap, Nesdal picks it up, and White Bear Lake swallows him up on first down, a loss of 5. Come to think of it, you don't really have a preseason in college either, unless you count the myriad of cupcake non-conference games, but I digress. Second and 15. Nesdal clean snap this time. Jakes rolls right and is met as he tried to get rid of it. Breaks the tackle. Past the line of scrimmage, a flag comes in. I thought Nesdal was dead to rights, but he shrugs off the first tackler. Now we have to see what the flag is about. It came in just as the play was ending. We don't have a microphone system here at White Bear Lake. The flag is being picked up. So no penalty. And Nesdal turned a disaster into a manageable third down situation for Parker Cottage Grove after he gained 7. Look at that. William McQuay had him, but it looked like he did a bear hug of sorts. Couldn't bring him down, just hugged him on the spot, for lack of a better word. And Nesdal said, enough of this. What could have been 3rd and long instead turns into 3rd and 8. Parker Cottage Grove letting the play clock run all the way down. They had 2 timeouts remaining. Now they have 1. And if you're wondering about this, they do get the ball to start the second half, but I think they are playing a little bit of that clock management game. If they can't convert, they don't want to give White Bear Lake extra time for a response. As we look at the 2 huddles, and conversely, White Bear Lake, if they get a stop, would they consider using a timeout or would they save them for offense? We shall see. As you look at the 2 huddles for Park of Cottage Grove, I think that's Amy Omad, one of the coaches. We have seen women join coaching staffs at the high school level. Jody Raylander comes to mind, the former Vixen player. She coaches the Minnesota Minx women's football team and part of the coaching staff at Cretin-Durham Hall. And over at Anoka, they've got a young woman as a defensive captain in Debrayeni. She wants to play Division I basketball. But back to action here, 3rd and 8. Nesdal, nope, that's Erickson, back in the lineup, throws deep, and he's got his man. Park of Cottage Grove tackled just shy of the goal line, but Caleb Mifta hauls in the catch for a 37-yard pickup on 3rd down. They put Erickson back under center, and as you saw in the replay, Mifta had a step on Easton Miles. Erickson, a perfectly placed throw. When your receiver has that advantage, ensure they can utilize that reach. 1st and goal at the 1. And Park of Cottage Grove runs it in without any trouble. Touchdown, Wolfpack, for number 22, Cody Akins, his 1st of the year. And for the 2nd time in this game, a 3rd down stop by White Bear Lake negated by a penalty that leads to a touchdown for the Wolfpack. In this case, helmet-to-helmet contact as John Nesdal was getting wrapped up, and the Wolfpack proving to be an opportunistic bunch in the season opener. Monday sails that extra point through the uprights. 1 minute and 38 seconds remain in the 2nd. Park of Cottage Grove 14, White Bear Lake 7. A 72-yard, 7-play drive for the Wolfpack. 4 minutes and 6 seconds. If a drive took 72 plays, that would be an all-time record regardless of the level.
Back to receive for your Bears is number 4, Easton Miles, and number 84, Antonio Brown.
Now White Bear Lake will have time to mount a response, and they do have 2 timeouts remaining. Wolfpack with just the 1, but less of a concern here. White Bear Lake, we did see them capitalize on a short field, so this kick return is going to be crucial. It's a deep one to Miles, fields it inside the 5. Miles sprinting down the right side, past the 40, has a blocker, and the ball pops out. He's tripped up, and it goes right back to Commande. Now Commande has room to run down the right side, past midfield to the 40. Commande met by White Bear Lake, but in an inconceivable turn of events, Miles stumbled by his own teammate, coughs it up. Commande snatches it up, and Park of Cottage Grove will start at the 28. Here's a look. Miles ran into Aiden Mahmoud. And as Commande takes off running, it reminds me of plate racing at Daytona and Talladega and Atlanta, where one slip up, a driver in front of you checks up, and it bunches up the whole field that leads to those big ones. We get the football equivalent of that here. Mahmoud checking up. Miles lost his balance, and that became a mess. White Bear Lake will take a timeout on defense. And remember, the Wolfpack get the ball to start the second half. Unreal. White Bear Lake, it looked like they were going to rip off a big return. Maybe Miles runs it all the way in. At the very least, they would have had a short field. And then he gifts the ball to Commande. It's just one of those tough breaks. We mentioned some of the trials and tribulations that lie ahead for the Wolfpack. That Wyzetta game, that could be a challenge. Forest Lake, they had a solid year last season. Coon Rapids, that could be a winnable one for them. And again, it doesn't get any easier for them even next week. Stillwater or Forest Lake, that's a tough twosome. Or at least that's the thinking based on last year's results. Week 1 doesn't make the entire season, but it can give you a jumping off point, and Park of Cottage Grove jumps the line. They will have to step back 5 yards.
False start on the
Again,
offense.
they do get the ball to start the second half. Both teams with 1 timeout remaining. And because the clock hadn't started yet, it was the first play of the series. We have 1:17, so a second ticked off, but the screen to Commande. Another fumble! White Bear Lake picks it up! Are you kidding me? Teddy St. Martin dives on it and secures it tighter than the lid of a pickle jar. On the replay, you see an exuberant Lincoln Baca. He went for the punch out. And it paid off, but a Park player is down, and it's Commande. It was a big hit that he took. White Bear Lake, if there's any downside, they do lose some time, so there's only 1:08, and they did use a timeout on defense. So they will have a slightly longer field and slightly less time to traverse downfield, but you talk about how quickly momentum can swing. I think Berg and I did a game last year. I know I've done a few where both teams traded turnovers, and we've seen it all the way up to the pros. Commande walks back to the bench unassisted. That's a good sign. Baca knocking the ball out. St. Martin snares it. White Bear Lake still has a chance to score before the half. Again, the Wolfpack will receive the second half kickoff. Brian White alongside Anima-san on the right side. Anima-san flushed out. Lots of room up the middle. He's got the first down. Sprints ahead. Set course for the end zone. Warp speed. Touchdown. No flags. That replay tells you all you need to know about what fast feet can do. This is why we play them, folks. You never know what's going to happen. White Bear Lake fumbles it on what would have been a big kickoff return. Park of Cottage Grove fumbles it back. And one play, 56 yards later, White Bear Lake can tie it up on the extra point attempt. Baca takes care of it. And Anima-san, who had just one rushing touchdown a season ago, has already doubled his rushing touchdown total for this year. One more look at field level. And this is the back end of Animasan's run. A play like that gives you visions of Lamar Jackson and the swift mobile quarterbacks who can pick up first downs with their feet and their arms. Animasan in his second year as a varsity starter flushed out, said, all right, I'll let my lower body do the talking. Short kick here for White Bear Lake. Again, Park of Cottage Grove has time, and the Wolfpack will let it bounce out of bounds. So they will start at the 35-yard line if my memory of the rules is correct. And more importantly for the Wolfpack, no time goes off the clock. They will start at the 35 on the illegal kick.
On the kicking team, ball will be placed 25 yards to the spot of the kick, first down.
And all things considered, perhaps White Bear Lake did that by design to prevent a possible return. It's not the worst possible outcome with 57 seconds left, but we saw Animasan rip off a 56-yard touchdown run, so who's to say Park of Cottage Grove can't construct a quick score? Erickson and Akins both responsible for touchdowns. The Wolfpack will start this series with a run by Akins to the 43-yard line, a gain of 8, and the Wolfpack will be in hurry-up mode here. 40 seconds and counting, and a flag. Oh, no! Mifta was still on the other side of the line of scrimmage by the time the Wolfpack got set. And that's going to push the Wolfpack back 5 yards. That stops the clock with 40 seconds. The question is, do we have a 10-second runoff, or do the Wolfpack have to use a timeout?
False start, offense number 11, 5-yard penalty, second down.
Second down. The referee confirmed the signal, and they will start the clock because the last play was a tackle inside the line of scrimmage, so no runoff, but clock ticking anyway. Erickson flings it downfield, looking for Mifta. Ball knocked down. Easton Miles with the deflection, and that will make it 3rd and 8.
Third down.
27 seconds left. Do the Wolfpack call it a half and regroup? Or will they try to pull off another dose of heroics? Watch and see. White Bear Lake got the timeout call before the snap. 26 seconds on the clock, still 3rd and 8. Last timeout of the half for White Bear Lake. Let's take a look at White Bear Lake's schedule. I was talking with our crew beforehand, and the thought was the Bears could be in position to improve that win total as we take a look at their schedule. Coon Rapids is next, and then Farmington. And then they will take on all their district foes. Stillwater and Forest Lake are the teams that stand out most. Again, that is based on last year. In a few weeks, we'll have a better idea of who the favorites are this year. Week 1 is always the hardest. Some of the smaller schools already logging their first games of the year, that 0 week, so to speak, last weekend. As we get a lot of Thursday, Friday night football action before Labor Day. Now Parker Cottage Grove takes a timeout. It doesn't carry over. Interesting that the Wolfpack would decide to use it here. Of course, it's easy for me to say because I'm in the press box and I can play armchair quarterback till kingdom come, but the way I see it, I might save it, because if you get a first down in the middle of the field, you have a lifeline to stop the clock. Now, of course, we know the clock stops briefly to move the chains at this level, but any play that ends in the middle of the field, you'll have to hurry and spike it or get a play off. I might be apt to save it if the goal is to get within scoring range. But we'll see. This whole conjecture could be all for naught if Park can't convert here on 3rd and 8. High snap. Erickson in trouble as he's flushed to the right side. Makes the throw and it's intercepted. Erickson had not crossed the line of scrimmage, but it doesn't matter as Easton Miles makes the catch near midfield. Another look, Erickson just overthrew it. He was looking for Mifta, but Miles was in front of him. A desperation heave. And White Bear Lake will get a stop. No timeout, 16 seconds left. I would be surprised if White Bear Lake goes for it. But we did see a Nimasan zip his way to the end zone for a 56-yard score, so we might see another employment of trickery. Nimasan lined up deep. They're going to try at least. Nimasan, he's running, going deep, and incomplete. Setting up the Hail Mary, and that's what they were trying to do. Nimasan, though, he had some room. I thought he was going to perhaps try to outrun his defenders and pick up a few yards to make the throw a little more manageable. 7 seconds left, and in all likelihood, barring a defensive penalty, this will be the last play of the first half. One that looked like was going to swing heavily in Park's favor after the kickoff return was fumbled back to them, but then they cough it up and Nimasan scores from 56 yards out on the very next play. They'll keep it on the ground, and that didn't go well. Parker Cottage Grove says we have it. That's the end of the first half, and even if the Wolfpack had recovered, there wasn't any time left. 14 all as we go to halftime in one of the wildest first halves to open the season that I have seen in my years of covering football. The White Bear Lake cheerleaders making room for their brethren of the gridiron. In the meantime, we'll take a break and give you some halftime highlights and analysis. You're watching high school football live on SEC. White Bear Lake and Park of Cottage Grove tied at 14.
It's like we just arrived.
I'm here today because of Tanya's relentless efforts in trying to get me healed. When I came back from the war, I became a homeless veteran. I was barely hanging on by a thread. The one thing that was constant for me was music. Music led me to Tanya. Normally with a veteran, we think we can solve everything. The truth of the matter is we cannot.
I just knew that something was different, something was off. I let him know that he wasn't alone. There are people that loved him.
And says, Michael, I know you've got a plan to take your life today, but if you give me just 5 more minutes to love you.
5 more minutes, 5 more minutes, honey, 5 more minutes to love. Michael has actually taught me what it looks like to accept help.
There are a lot of temptations facing young people today, like electronic cigarettes and skateboarding. Each vape pod can contain the same amount of nicotine as a pack of cigarettes. This can lead today's youth to a lifelong addiction and severe lung damage. Recall and consider the facts before making a poor decision.
The health class film guy isn't the best person to talk to your kid about vaping.
Got a few minutes?
You are. Start the conversation with your child about vaping today.
Buckle up! Nobody is more prepared for an emergency than Dogman.
With all your kung fu skills and your canine fortitude or whatnot.
But for the rest of us, a good plan goes a long way.
Come on, let's go!
So, whether it's an unexpected disaster or the world's most evilest cat bent on destroying all do-gooders.
Destroy all do-gooders!
You can help your family be ready for anything.
No time to waste. Will you get out of here?
Get started today at ready.gov/kids.
There I was, 16, divorced, remarried with a baby, another on the way, and I could barely read or write. Getting my high school diploma was a catalyst I needed. Now I have a bachelor's, a master's, and I became a teacher. When I look at all these success stories, I cannot help but think it all started by getting my high school diploma.
When you graduate, they graduate. Visit finishyourdiploma.org to find free and supportive adult education centers near you.
My dad showcased a sense of love that I never had before. It felt like it was something that I've always wanted. I mean, he's not only my parent, like he's like my best friend.
Learn about adopting a teen at adoptuskids.org.
I never realized that I'd be taking care of a 2-year-old and a 9-year-old on my own. Sometimes as dads, I think we're too hard on ourselves. We get down on ourselves on not being able to, we're the providers, but we also have to learn to take care of ourselves. Self-love made me a better dad because I realized my worth. My daughter Isabella recently had a graduation into high school, and I got emotional because I saw pride in her eyes. I saw my daughter have her own self-love, and I saw the hard work of me being that dad 24/7 transferred to my teenage daughter. The word father means a lot to me. When I give my love to my children as a father, I can see it.
Listen up, team. When I look around this room, I see a fighting team of brave antibodies. but the flu is coming in strong, so I won't sugarcoat it. I need each one of you on your A game. The good news is, Anthony, the human body we've been tasked to protect, just got his flu shot, which supplied us with brand new gear to defend against the flu. That's right, we've upgraded our game with this new equipment. They give you a little extra boost. So let's go fight for Anthony, for his mom, his co-workers, that nice lady Patricia that lives down the street with the cute dog. In the face of viral adversity, we make Anthony thrive so he can protect himself and the people he loves most. Are you with me? Yeah!
Let's work as a team to defend against the flu. Gear up with a flu shot to help protect others and reduce your risk of being sick or hospitalized with the flu. Learn more at getmyflushot.org.
Mom, did you really need to buy 2 can openers for our emergency kit?
I can't help it. They're 2 for 1. What's this?
We need to keep our family communication plan safe in case of an emergency.
Thanks, Tita. Oh, man.
Well, good thing we kept all the lights we used for Diwali.
I've got the battery pack.
Keep my phone powered so we don't miss any alerts.
What about game night?
Sounds good.
Oh, we have to get to Mom and Dad's and get them somewhere safe. I've got the evacuation route loaded on my phone.
I've got an updated list of Dad's meds.
And I've got just what we need to get them to take this seriously.
If that doesn't convince them that we thought this through, I don't know what would.
Start a conversation with your family and plan together for emergencies.
I don't know if you feel like dancing, but that first half had us dancing in every which way possible. Park of Cottage Grove and White Bear Lake tied at 14. Live coverage of the season opener for White Bear Lake on SEC Sports. Mike Peden still with you, amazingly, after a first half that saw Park make the first proverbial punch, and then craziness ensued. Here was the first series for the Wolfpack that led to a touchdown from Erickson to Cease. We get a couple of looks at that, an 11-yard score. That came after a third down stop was negated by a pass interference call. White Bear Lake gets stopped at the 2-yard line, but they force a 3 and out. That would set up a 2-yard score by Tomi Animasan on the next series for the Bears. We're tied at 7. Later, a deep throw, a 37-yarder to Mifta from Erickson sets up a 1-yard score by Cody Akins. And this is where the game really turned. Well, I'll explain here. Here's the 56-yard run by Tomi Animasan, but the lead up to it was just as wild and unpredictable as Animasan celebrates. Easton Miles looked like he was going to rip off a big kickoff return late in the second. He runs into his teammate, Aiden Mahmoud, and I was saying it's like what happens when you're in a NASCAR race at Daytona or Talladega. Driver bumps you from behind, and it causes mayhem to ensue. That's what happened to White Bear Lake on the very next play for Park of Cottage Grove. Commanda gets the throw from Erickson. Baca with the punch-out tackle knocks the ball loose. Teddy St. Martin recovers, and then one play later, Animasan from 56 yards out runs it in for 6, and that gives us a tie score. So there were a lot of plays that told the story of the first half, and some that didn't make the highlight reel cut, but that just tells you how many wild, frenetic sequences unfolded in the season opener as both teams, for the first time in 11 years, face each other and try to get that season opening win. By the way, White Bear Lake won that meeting 34-20 back in October of 2014. Here's a look at what's ahead. Next Friday, we're with you again, and I'll be there for Highland Park and Matamidi high school football over at Matamidi. Always a great place to call some action. And then I'll join you once more September 9th, right here at White Bear Lake for Woodbury and White Bear Lake in a soccer doubleheader. White Bear Lake, they fielded some strong teams over the last few years. September 16th, I won't be with you, but that's okay. We have plenty of other talented announcers who will keep my seat warm. It's volleyball, and get this, Park of Cottage Grove and White Bear Lake in a Suburban East Conference matchup. And we've got plenty more coming your way this fall on SEC, but that's a look at what lies ahead on the airwaves of SEC. The second half will start in about 10 minutes. So get your snacks ready, finish up whatever you need to, tidy up the bed, what have you, the laundry. Whatever you're doing, come back in about 10 minutes for the second half. This is high school football on SEC. We're tied at 14.
Love is a lesson that doesn't end. It knows no conditions, so you better buckle in. Love keeps you on your toes. It never stops, only grows. Love isn't easy. It's a commitment, especially when they're being their most resistant. Love is being prepared for the journey ahead. Love doesn't let any concerns go unsaid. Love is finding the right seat so you can take a breath. But remember, love isn't lax. It always double checks. Check that your kids are in the right seat at nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Love protects.
Sit up, team. When I look around this room, I see a fighting team of brave antibodies. But the flu is coming in strong, so I won't sugarcoat it. I need each one of you on your A game. The good news is, Anthony, the human body we've been tasked to protect, just got his flu shot, which supplied us with brand new gear to defend against the flu. That's right, we've upgraded our game with this new equipment. They give you a little extra boost. So let's go fight for Anthony, for his mom, his co-workers, that nice lady Patricia that lives down the street with the cute dog. In the face of viral adversity, we make Anthony thrive so he can protect himself and the people he loves most. Are you with me? Yeah!
Let's work as a team to defend against the flu. Gear up with a flu shot to help protect others and reduce your risk of being sick or hospitalized with the flu. Learn more at getmyflushot.org.
Achieving my goals as an adult was challenging without a high school diploma. With the help of an adult education center, I finished my high school diploma and it changed my life.
This yearbook is a testament to your accomplishments and how they have impacted all of us.
Getting my high school diploma made me feel like I can do anything. Now, I can help the kids in my community achieve their dreams.
When you graduate, they graduate. Visit finishyourdiploma.org to find free and supportive adult education centers near you.
Love is a lesson that doesn't end. It knows no conditions, so you better buckle in. Love keeps you on your toes. It never stops, only grows. Love isn't easy, it's a commitment, especially when they're being their most resistant. Love is finding the right seat so you can take a breath. But remember, love isn't lax, it always double checks. check that your kids are in the right seat at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat.
Sit up, team. When I look around this room, I see a fighting team of brave antibodies. But the flu is coming in strong. The good news is, Anthony, the human we're tasked to protect, just got his flu shots, which supplied us with strong new gear to defend against the flu. So let's go fight for Anthony. Are you with me?
Let's work as a team to defend against the flu. Gear up with a flu shot to help protect others and reduce your risk of being sick or hospitalized with the flu. Learn more at getmyflushot.org.
There I was, 16, divorced, remarried with a baby, another on the way, and I could barely read or write. It was time for me to change my life and the lives of my family, so I went back and I got my high school diploma. That was the catalyst I needed. Now I have a bachelor's, a master's, and I became a teacher.
Mom, this is your very first yearbook.
Your commitment to education motivates me, your coworkers, and your students.
You showed me that if you come from nothing, you can still be anything.
You told me I deserve to succeed.
It's been 15 years, and I still live by that.
You're the model for success for your kids, grandkids, and your students.
When I look at all these success stories, I cannot help but think it all started by getting my high school diploma.
When you graduate, they graduate. Visit finishyourdiploma.org to find free and supportive adult education centers near you.
The bravest person I know is definitely my dad, 100%.
My friend Sean.
My daughter Cynthia, and she was in the United States Army.
One of the bravest things he ever did wasn't when he first enlisted, it was when he found his first support group.
Our journey has not been easy.
One of the bravest things he did was when he asked to move in with me and my mom.
I felt like I was lost, and you gave me a place to stay.
When he decided he was going to go back to school after 23 years.
It was the better part of my life that I spent in the Marine Corps. Transitioning out, it's a difficult thing.
She went on foreign soil. She went to war. But the bravest thing she did is when she asked for help.
So I really appreciate it.
Some people judge a book by its cover, and if you're not what people are looking for, you're kind of like a reject.
At school, it feels like everyone's staring at me and I'm just kind of not really a person.
Sometimes I can't believe that you could be proud of me if I'm not proud of myself.
It just was hard today. Nobody was listening to me.
Think of our best times together. Let's do more of that.
Try to understand me more, and I'll try to do the same.
Listening is a form of love. Find ways to support your kids at sounditouttogether.org.
When we have the food we need, we are at our best. We push further. We rise higher. We unlock our full potential. When we are at our best, we have more to offer the world around us. When we have the food we need, we make our communities stronger. Together, we can help everyone get the food they need to thrive. Join the movement to end hunger at feedingamerica.org/actnow.
Second half will start in just a few moments. here at White Bear Lake Area High School. Mike Beaton still with you in the kickoff to high school football 2025. White Bear Lake and Park of Cottage Grove knotted up at 14, and one of the wildest, ecstatic, and unpredictable halves I have seen in a season opener. Park of Cottage Grove will get the second half kickoff as we take another look at the highlights, and that doesn't sum up the story as a whole, but it began with Park of Cottage Grove scoring first. And a play from Eston Erickson to Nolan Cease. White Bear Lake would respond a couple of drives later. Anima San scoring from 2 yards out. Of course, it was set up by a drive that was stalled at the 2 and then a 3 and out. Here's one of the big plays, a 37-yard pass from Erickson to Mifta. That set up a 1-yard run by Cody Akins. Then we had a couple of turnovers on a kickoff. White Bear Lake fumbled it, Park of Cottage Grove then fumbled it back, and then Tomi Animasan zips it downfield for a 56-yard touchdown score. That tied it up at 14. There was also an Easton Miles interception. And that brings us to the second half, which will begin in just a moment. Park of Cottage Grove still finishing their warm-ups. A reminder that we will be with you next Friday for Highland Park and Matabida. High school football live on SEC. At Matabida, a place I know well. Elsewhere, in WNBA action, big game tonight. The Seattle Storm with a 4-point lead over the Minnesota Lynx, 70-66. And the Minnesota Golden Gophers kicking off their season as they usually do on the Thursday before Labor Day. 1:17 left in the second quarter. In that contest, Minnesota leading Buffalo 7-3. So those are a look at some of the in-state teams, with one starting their season and another the Lynx. In all likelihood, they will clinch the #1 seed. They would do so with a win tonight, but if they can't get it, they have plenty of opportunities later. I know they host Dallas on Labor Day. That should be a pretty good pickup for them. As far as the #1 seed here, well, we won't know who gets the #1 seed until we get to mid-October around NEA weekend, which is about 7-8 weeks from now. It'll be here before you know it, but you know how it goes. We got to play some of these games. Of course, SEC was with you earlier this week for volleyball, Matabida and Chisago Lakes. And again, we'll be back next Friday. Of course, there'll be some more football games taking place tomorrow, with Labor Day weekend spreading it out. Now the kickoff to start the second half, and bobbling it momentarily was Akins. He's able to pick it back up. There is a flag as he's still running and tackled just past the 30-yard line, but usually when there are flags on the return, it's for holding or an illegal block, but not always.
Illegal block in the back on the kicking team, number 4.
Illegal block on
the Wolfpack. They penalized 10 yards from the spot of the fall.
So they will
first down.
Start deep in their own territory, and we'll see if we can pick up where it took place. Akins, again, initially bobbled the kickoff, and the flag came in not long after. I couldn't see the block on the replay, but that doesn't mean it didn't occur. We just don't have that all 22 camera, at least not yet. I'm pretty sure the crew's working on it, but you got to give us time. We like to have fun here on SEC, but that penalty will push the Wolfpack back to just past the 20-yard line. It looks like the 22 to be precise. So they'll have to start a few yards deeper, of course. Back in the first half, on their first series, they scored on an 80-yard drive, so it can be done. First play is a run. And it's good for a gain of 4. First meeting in 11 years. The last year of conference football, if I'm not mistaken. Another direct snap to the quarterback, or I should say Akins, that is, and he pushes the pile forward to the first down marker. Looks like he has enough. And they are moving the chains, so he picks up the 6 they needed as the Wolfpack return to their hurry-up offense that we saw early in the contest. Another direct snap to Akins, looking for space, finds a brief gap along the A side, I believe, as he adds 8 more yards to his total. Akins again, the leading rusher for the Wolfpack a year ago, averaged just over 6 yards a carry, 9 touchdowns. They spot the ball at the 39. So a gain of 7, 2nd and 3. Oh, high snap. And the only thing Zach Carr could do was fall on it, but we've seen the Wolfpack use that formation a few times where they put running backs behind the center and try a direct snap, but that high snap pushes them all the way back to the 29, a loss of 10. 3rd and 13. They're still in the hurry up, still in that same dual running back formation on the direct snap, and looking for space was Carr. He gets it just past the 35-yard line, but well short of the first down marker, and that high snap really cost them. They were making headway downfield, but those unforced errors.
And number 4, Easton Miles. Hunting for the Wolfpack, number 1, Matthew Command.
Park undone by a few errant snaps, and after all that work to try to stymie White Bear Lake with the dual running back formation, now Monday has to punt it. Fielded by Galvin. And Galvin stopped at the 36, and for a moment I thought things looked a little on the chippy side. Here's Galvin. He got tackled by his own man, who was trying to fend off a Parker Cottage Grove player. But White Bear Lake will start at the 35-yard line, looking to lead for the first time today. .909 left in the first quarter. Animasan can cover a lot of ground in a hurry, but he'll hand it off to Brian White III. First play of the second half for the Bears. And White will gain 6 yards before he is brought down. It's been a quiet showing so far for last year's leading rusher, Brian White III. Of course, I don't think he'll complain when his comrades like Animasan have reeled off some notable plays. Animasan, 2 rushing touchdowns, had just 1 a year ago. 3-step drop, and Animasan wants to throw. Forced out of the pocket. Oh yeah, Byron! Finds a man. It's Byron White, and he'll pick up a big first down on a scramble play by the Bears. White to the 16-yard line. A gain of 43. And while Anima-san's 56-yard touchdown run was emblematic of his ability to scoot out of trouble, that passing play set up by Anima-san's feet as well. You saw the pocket collapsing, bought himself time by scurrying to the left side. And Byron White had a gap all to himself. On top of that, a penalty. I didn't see the flag. I was so caught up in the play and the replay. Maybe we'll catch it on the replay, what led to the flag, but White Bear Lake starting at the 8. Perhaps a roughing the passer situation. So it will be first and goal for the Bears at the 8 following the penalty. They'll start first and 10, or first and goal, I should say, with a handoff to Brian White, and he is stuffed for a 2-yard loss. Again, Brian White hasn't found much success compared to some of his teammates. Remember, though, White Bear Lake, when they were in the red zone in the first half, on their second drive of the game, they were stopped at the 2. They would score on the next series by getting short field position, forcing a 3 and out. So anything could happen. Second and goal for the Bears, and Anima-san gets the snap, rolls right, tries to sling it, and the pass is caught. Byron White again. He's red hot for the Bears, and White Bear Lake takes a red hot lead for the first time today. This is worth another look because I thought he was just throwing it away. Byron White makes the grab, the extra point is through. A 4-play, 65-yard drive. Time of the drive, 1 minute and 35 seconds. Fueled by a 47-yard scramble passing play from Anima-san to Byron White. A penalty added 8 more yards. And Anima-san, with his first touchdown pass of 2025, had 8 a year ago. Byron White, the freshman, the recipient. And the Bears, who trailed initially, again, Park of Cottage Grove scored first in this matchup, find themselves in front 21-14, 7:34 left in the third. Maka, another short kick, and signaling for a fair catch is number 52.
First down, Wolfpack.
I was looking up and down the programs, the rosters I got before the game, and there is no number 52 listed. But based on his build, I could understand why he would call a fair catch. Probably not the man you would want to return a kick. White Bear Lake opting to keep it short on these kickoffs. Erickson fakes, pass incomplete. Commande, the intended receiver.
Pass is incomplete. Intended for number 1, Matthew Command.
Second and 10.
Second down.
Trying to fake the handoff to Cody Akins. in the season opener. By the way, I don't think I had a chance to highlight the theme for the White Bear Lake student section, but it's jersey night, and as usual, you get jerseys of all sizes, shapes, and colors. I even saw a Caitlin Clark jersey. Yeah, she's that big a deal, even when she's on the injured list. Erickson going deep on second down. One-on-one coverage, pass caught but out of bounds. No flags. Easton Miles on the coverage. Caleb Mifta, the intended receiver. And the Wolfpack facing 3rd and 10. Let's see if we can get another look at this from here. There was some contact. Miles wasn't looking toward the football, but the officials deemed not enough contact to warrant a pass interference call as Mifta was led out of bounds. Park of Cottage Grove, located in South Washington County. Bit of a hike from here. 3rd and 10. Player in motion. It's Cease. He's got it, but a flag. Would be illegal motion. Cease tackled short of the line to gain, but a flag was thrown just after the snap. It would be 4th down.
Come on, and that's illegal block below the waist on the
Chop
offense.
block.
That penalty is declined.
White Bear Lake will decline the penalty. We'll see if we can spot it. Looked like bottom left of the screen, perhaps. See, he's pushed out of bounds. Short of the line to gain. Officially, it's a 6-yard gain. And the Wolfpack lining up to go for it. White Bear Lake opting to decline the penalty and take 4th down. But it's 4th and 4, so one of those interesting gray areas on whether you accept or decline. Wolfpack need just 4 yards, and they'll pick it up. So White Bear Lake declines the penalty, and it backfires. Intriguingly, the Wolfpack scored a pair of touchdowns on defensive penalties against White Bear Lake that would have brought up 4th down. Here, the Bears decline that chop block penalty, and the Wolfpack take a chance. Gamble pays off. Fresh set of downs at the 42. Erickson, 3-step drop. Another deep throw. Incomplete. Mifta, the intended receiver. And it looked like on the coverage was Braylon Minor, the 5'10 junior. 2nd and 10. Mifta tried to scoop it with his arm, but couldn't quite secure the ball cleanly. Pistol formation. Erickson in trouble. Gets to the right side. He'll pick up a few yards with his feet. And he's got some speed as well. We haven't seen him utilize it as much as Anemasan, but he's able to get 3 yards out of it. And that will make it 3rd down. And 7. You have to think if the Wolfpack pick up some yards here, they would go for it, considering they did so in their own territory just a moment ago. At the start of the broadcast, we noted Park of Cottage Grove rotating their starters. They had a few, but they're not like most teams where they have a set player for each position. They like to mix it up. And they'll take a timeout here before a potentially pivotal third down. 3rd and 7 at the 45-yard line. They have to get across the White Bear Lake 48 to convert with 6 minutes and 33 seconds left in the third quarter. White Bear Lake up 21-14 in the first game of the new year.
We are proud to have you as part of our family. You will hear more about these sponsors throughout the season. Mamba Defense Award sponsored by the Blue Heron Grill. The Mamba Defense Award will be announced next week on White Bear Lake Football's Facebook page. Whether you're looking for a good meal, to host an event, or even bingo, the Blue
From the looks of it, elsewhere, the Lynx will have to wait a little bit longer to get that #1 seed. Seattle up 88-77 with just over 2 minutes to go. And at halftime over at Huntington Bank Stadium, Minnesota with a 10-3 lead over Buffalo. And of course, one more weekend of the State Fair, one of our annual rituals. Back to action, 3rd and 7. Another run play, and White Bear Lake stomping all over number 31. Gabe Shakurit. He gains a yard, and the Wolfpack looks like they will send out the punting unit this time. Not willing to take a chance again. They're looking at a 4th and 6, and fantastic coverage by White Bear Lake. For the most part, they have been effective at stifling run plays. As they turn the tide in their favor. Commande lines up to punt. Nearly blocked. Miles makes the catch, nowhere to go, so he just falls at the 20. White Bear Lake with a chance to take command of the season opening tilt, face-off, skirmish, engagement. My use of adjectives not quite as vast as the Adam West iteration of Batman, but I do my best. There is a Park of Cottage Grove player down, that is. That's a mouthful to say. That was number 21, Alex Jadu, but he is hopping back as we take another look at the replay, and you could tell as soon as the play ended, he was holding his left calf. Officially, the school name is Park High School, but they're referred to as Park of Cottage Grove because there are a lot of schools that have the name Park. At the start, at the end. I don't think any in the middle, though. 1st and 10 for the Bears. Ryan White through the first line. Takes the pile with them to the 27-yard line. Gain of 7. As White Bear Lake seeks to turn the tempo in their direction. As we said in the open, if you were with us last year for our White Bear Lake football coverage, they hung in there with a lot of teams. They just had trouble finishing the job. White again takes the handoff. And this time the Wolfpack able to penetrate the line and hold them for no gain. That will make it third. Well, they do give him one after getting a chance to spot the ball. 3rd and 2, manageable, but we'll see what the Bears opt to execute as they look to gain some distance and cruise to that season opening win, something they didn't have a year ago. They won their last 3 regular season games. Animason stopped. He thought there was a whistle. I didn't hear any, and Park of Cottage Grove attentive. Animason sacked as a result. We mentioned some of the high snap snafus afflicting Park of Cottage Grove, but look at this. Animason, he just stopped. There's no other way to explain it. It goes down as a loss of 9 on the sack, but Animason, I don't know if he thought he heard a whistle somewhere. I didn't hear anything that would resemble one. Now he'll have to go back to punt. Park of Cottage Grove should get good field position. Their punt returner lined up at midfield. Animason gets it off. It's a dribbler. White Bear Lake will down it at the 42-yard line. As OMC once said, how bizarre. Some of you youngsters might have to look up that reference. Now the Wolfpack have a chance to recapture some mojo. Pitch to Commande, looking to sweep the left side. There is a flag. Commande, I don't think he gained all that much anyway.
Personal foul, blindside block, number 22 on the offense.
Blindside block
from the previous spot
on the Wolfpack. That will push
First
them
down.
back 15 yards. And Coach Frickland, I don't think will be pleased. Here's another look. Might not have been a blindside block, actually. They might have gotten Commande on the stiff arm. May have made contact with the face mask. In any case, that pushes the Wolfpack back to the 28-yard line. 1st and 25. Erickson.
Oh yeah, come on, you gotta bring him down.
Had to bring it back in under pressure. He's gonna pick up that yardage on a run up the left side. Runs out of bounds at the 44. A gain of 16. And we've seen Erickson evade potential disaster a couple of times. Earlier in the game, it looked like he was going to go down for a sack. Brushed it off, picked up a solid run. Here, had to bring the ball back in under pressure and picks up 16 yards. And getting another big chunk is Cody Akins, as he is tackled just past midfield. So 3rd and 2. And now a White Bear Lake player is down. Akins is stretching. I can't make out the number from here. But this could be an old-fashioned cramp. And even though the weather is not hot and humid like it can be in late August, early September, that doesn't mean cramping isn't an issue. Hydration is key, and sometimes It's difficult in that first week of the year. Lincoln Baca was the player who tweaked his leg as we take another look at the play. Oh, and that right at the end, Baca felt a surge of pain. We hope it's just a cramp.
Third down.
But I didn't see anything that would precipitate an injury directly. 3rd and 2 for the Wolfpack. In their last series, they turned a 4th down into a 1st down, and White Bear Lake jumped. So Park of Cottage Grove will pick up the 1st. That's the signal I'm seeing from the side judge. And unless somebody from the Wolfpack moved, I didn't see anything. Encroachment is the signal.
Offsides on the defense. 5-yard penalty. Result, 1st down.
That is the 3rd time a White Bear Lake penalty has resulted in a 1st down. And the guilty party, Logan Gibson, got ahead of the count. In baseball, that's a good thing, but not here. 1st and 10 at the 44. It's Commande with the run. Finding space along the right side, but another flag. The dirty laundry piling up here at White Bear Lake Stadium. And from the looks of it, this is going against the Wolfpack.
Holding, offense.
The dreaded holding call.
10-yard penalty, 1st down.
Looked like it took place at the bottom of the screen. It left the frame just as Commande was making his run. "10 yards from the spot of the foul." So we go back to the Wolfpack 49. That makes it 1st and 17, according to the scoreboard. They can pick up yards on the ground in a hurry as Akins trudges forward to the original line of scrimmage. Back at the 44. 2nd and 10. 1:25 left in the 3rd. Commande in motion. He gets the handoff. Follows his blockers up the middle. White Bear Lake says they got it. What's the ruling? White Bear Lake says it's a fumble that we recovered. And I don't see a signal to suggest it's White Bear Lake ball. Let's take another look at this as Commande. Looks like it is the Wolfpack ball. Yeah, he's down right there. The ball knocked loose, but I think he was already down by that point. It's a passing play, and a man is wide open, making the catch, and the score is Mifta. I believe Cease threw it to him. There is a flag on the field. It is a touchdown for the moment, but a flag, and it's against the Wolfpack.
10-yard penalty, 3rd down.
Oh my goodness, a holding call, and now
57.
this. Cease had the perfect throw to Mifta, But it looks like there was a hold. You talk about drive killers. Holding on top of that list. And there wasn't much deliberation from the officials. That tells you all you need to know. So instead of a touchdown, it's 3rd and 12. And the Wolfpack respond. High snap, Erickson can't pick it up. White Bear Lake scrambling, everyone diving for it. It's picked up by the Bears. No whistle! Touchdown! Oh my goodness! William McQuay quaking some life into the Bears' side. And that holding call that negated a Park of Cottage Grove touchdown backfires in the worst way imaginable. A scoop and score by McQuay. Now this is interesting. McQuay picks it up at the 35, so it will go down as a 35-yard touchdown. But as you saw in that replay, I don't know how this would be judged if we had reviews like they do at the higher levels. But there was another player. I'll talk more about it in a moment as the extra point is converted by Caden Bartok. It is a defensive touchdown, but for a moment, Christian Humphrey looked like made contact but didn't secure the ball. And I mentioned that because his knee was down. At the high school and college level, if your knee is down when you have possession of the ball, that ends the play automatically. There is a Wolfpack player who is injured, and I think the cramps are starting to creep in. 8 seconds left in the third. You talk about momentum changers. That is the epitome of one. And this has been a problem all game long for the Wolfpack. The penalties against them didn't help. A couple of holding calls, but they've had a few of these high snaps. Take another look. Here's Humphrey, almost gets on it. His knee was down. That would have ended the play there, but the ball's still loose. Humphrey hadn't secured it. That allowed McQuay to take it up. He was still on his feet. And he didn't hear a whistle, so he keeps on running. That's what they teach you at any level. If you don't hear the whistle, keep it going. 28-14 with 8 seconds left in the third. White Bear Lake trailed on a couple of occasions, 7-0 and 14-7. They've scored 3 touchdowns unanswered. Take a 28-14 lead. Another short kick by Bartok. And the Wolfpack will have to try again. They'll have time for one more play after the return by Wilson Weber to the 34-yard line. If you just joined us, the Wolfpack were primed to tie it up on a throw by Nolan Cease to Caleb Mifta. But a holding call negated the play. And on the very next sequence, a high snap leads to a fumble recovery by McQuay, who runs it in for a 35-yard touchdown. And another nearly disastrous snap. Erickson able to scamper down the right side and pick up the first down. But the Wolfpack, they've got to get their ball security on point, because if they don't, it will be the Bears who come out of here with the season opening win. 28-14, White Bear Lake up. as we enter the fourth quarter.
When we have the food we need, we are at our best. We push further. We rise higher. We unlock our full potential. When we are at our best, we have more to offer the world around us. When we have the food we need, we make our communities stronger. Together, we can help everyone get the food they need to thrive. Join the movement to end hunger at feedingamerica.org/actnow.
9-yard pickup for Erickson on the last play. 2nd and 1 as we start the fourth quarter. And Erickson completes the throw to Ben Andrews, as he had to escape the pocket once again. A first down for the Wolfpack. On a pickup of 3. There's Caleb Mifta. Had a big play earlier, a 37-yard reception that set up a Park of Cottage Grove touchdown, but right now the Wolfpack playing catch-up. 3 receivers to the right. And Erickson in pistol. Erickson wanted to go right, instead goes left. Finds Wilson Weber. Weber part of that tight end by committee group, and Weber tackled just past midfield. Five-yard gain on the play. This one not out of reach yet. Run up the middle, and the Wolfpack able to sell it. White Bear Lake thought they had another chance at a fumble recovery, but the Wolfpack get White Bear Lake on a misdirection. Ben Andrews, the ball carrier. And Andrews brings a lot of beef at that spot, 6'2", 205. Park in the hurry up again, a gain of 10. Erickson fakes, wrapped up. Sack from behind by Adam Okonlawan. Loss of 6. Wolfpack still in the hurry up though, and they have been able to bounce back from long distance situations. Going deep, and they nearly do so again, but the pass just slipped through the grip of Commande. 3rd and 15, and Commande getting some encouragement from his teammate, telling him we're not out of this yet. Commande had a step. Oh, it just went right through him. It was a perfect throw, and Commande was a half step behind. Third and about 16. If the Wolfpack come up short, there will be a lot of those near misses that add up. Erickson rolls right, going deep again. This time he's looking for Mifta, and the play broken up. Or is it? There was a flag on the play. but it's for an eligible receiver downfield.
That penalty is declined.
Braylon Minor was on the coverage. White Bear Lake declines, and that will bring up 4th down. Interesting choice here for the Wolfpack as we get another leg stretch. Like we said, that first week of the season, usually the most difficult for getting hydration. The play clock is running, but IFTA, I think, too close to the playing field. They're still working on him just past the right sideline, but he's on the White Bear Lake bench, and this is an injury timeout. They do stop the play clock. I don't think they were going to put the Wolfpack in a situation like that. By the way, it is a final. The Seattle Storm do beat the Minnesota Lynx tonight. The Lynx have encountered some turbulence as of late, although they are still on track to get the #1 seed in the WNBA. We're midway through the 3rd quarter over at Huntington Bank Stadium in Minneapolis. Score right now 13-3, Minnesota over Buffalo. And the final score in Target Center was 93-79, Storm over Lynx. For what it's worth, the Twins have a weekend series with the Padres, but I don't think too many folks are paying much attention to that right now. Mifta finally gets back up. We do have some high school scores that we'll share with you as well. Shakopee knocking off Egan, 41 donut. And Parker Cottage Grove, they're going to go for it. They have no choice at this point. Erickson, another deep throw. Looking for Kamande, but not close this time. Incomplete. White Bear Lake takes over on downs. Penalties and miscues unraveling the efforts of Park of Cottage Grove, who led 7-0 and 14-7, and that's a fun job to have on Thursday night football. I was about to say Friday, but it's Thursday. This is our Thursday night football before Amazon takes over that mantle. This is the 1 week where it's ours. 1st and 10 for White Bear Lake at the 45-yard line. Brian White runs out of bounds just shy of midfield, but there is a flag on the play.
There's a flag on the play.
On the offense, number
and
7.
It's holding.
10-yard penalty
on White Bear Lake.
Down.
There's still 9:35 to go, so this one not quite locked in, but I wouldn't be surprised if White Bear Lake seeks some more deliberate, methodical, time evaporating course of action. Penalties certainly don't help, though. First and 10 is now 1st and 20 at the 35. Byron White in motion. He'll get the carry. And he doesn't get much out of it. A yard. As the clock continues to roll. The Wolfpack did use one of their timeouts earlier, so they only have 2 remaining. Again, the game not out of reach, but it all depends on what happens in this drive. If the Bears can get a first down or 2, they could run the clock to a point where the Wolfpack wouldn't have enough time. But they're facing 2nd and 19. They go to the ground again. Brian White met by the pile. And he's held to a gain of 1. White Bear Lake's run game, at least from their regular tandem of rushers, Brian White included, just haven't been able to get a big yardage opportunity. The longest running play came from the 56-yard scramble by Animasan at the end of the 2nd quarter to tie it up at 14. A 3 and out would be a godsend for the Wolfpack. It would give them enough time to mount a rally. And at the 3rd and 18, it would seem to be the case. Animasan met right away by Jarius Boston. Boston, 6'1", 250. Animasan ran in his direction. Boston tugged him by the jersey. That was all she wrote. For what it's worth, a loss of 6, but more importantly, the Wolfpack get a 3 and out, and they should get good field position. So this game still within reach. Animasan gets the punt. This one's short. It takes a dead hop just inside the 45. White Bear Lake will down it there. But the ideal outcome for the Wolfpack, with 6:56 to go, they'll start at the 45-yard line. A short field, but this is where they've got to dial in, focus, and not let silly miscues encumber their progress. A couple drives ago, a holding call negates a touchdown. Next play, they fumble it. McQuay scoops it up and runs it in for a score. Perhaps the most egregious of the errors. But they've had a few high snaps among them. The pass is caught. Erickson hit as he threw. Commande able to make the grab. Just shy of the first down, but still a big play as the Wolfpack, they're going to be in hurry up the rest of the way, at least on this drive, as they look to get a quick score. Aiken should have enough for the first with that extra reach of his, and he does. That will stop the clock briefly to move the chains. I'll share some other scores when we get a moment. 6 minutes to go, 1st and 10. Wolfpack taking some time there. Erickson fakes, under pressure, escapes. Plenty of room to run if he wants, and he will. Sliding out of bounds. That will stop the clock with 5:48. It's a gain of 3, but once again, Erickson in his first start showcasing his agility. 2nd and 7. And again, the clock stopped with him sliding out of bounds after evading the sack. Erickson gets rid of it in a hurry this time. Commande with the catch. He fumbles it. White Bear Lake on top of it. Commande made a few steps. From here, it looked like he made a football move. The fumble recovery by Giacomo Anderson. There's Commande. Oh, he bobbled it, recovered, got a couple of steps. Ball knocked out by guess who? William McQuay. So Anderson will get credit for the fumble recovery. But it's McQuay who had the fumble return for a touchdown back in the 3rd, who makes a big play. Again, if this were College of the Pros, we probably would have a review because on second glance, that was close. Commande looked like he had secured it, made a couple of steps with it though, so I don't dispute the ruling, but might have been closer. And now the Wolfpack clamping down on defense again. Animason sacked for a loss of 3. And if you're the Bears and Ryan Bartlett, I think you'd like to see the Bears do a better job closing out on offense. They've struggled a bit over the last few possessions. They do have that 2-touchdown lead thanks to the defensive score by McQuay, but this still allows the Bears to chew up more time, and they're not going to be in any hurry to snap it off. They'd love a first down. Brian White gets to the first line and gets close to it as he is tackled past the 45-yard line. They are spotting it at the 48, and that's enough for the first down. From here, it looked like the first down marker is at the 49. But Brian White with his longest run of the game, and that might be enough to clinch it. 4:33 and counting. Marco Cottage Grove with 2 timeouts left, but you look at the time remaining and do the math. White Bear Lake, if they make 3 runs, they chew up another couple minutes here. That should just about do it. And Imason keeps. Another fleet-footed dash for 8. And one more first down should do it. Again, the Bears won't be in any hurry to snap the ball. Other scores from around the metro: Stewartville with a big winner for Benilde St. Marcus, 25-6, and I had another one that I'll share in a moment. Number 34, the ball carrier, Hank Stumkey, and he is stopped behind the line. That will allow the Wolfpack to take a timeout. And if they can get a stop, they'd have one last gasp. It will be 3rd and 3. A first down wins it for White Bear Lake for all intents and purposes. So in the Metro, again, Stewartville beating Benilde St. Margaret's 25-6. Minnetonka blanking Eastridge 41-0. White Bear Lake will take on Eastridge later this season. You have to think that game could be winnable. September 19th at Eastridge, if you're curious. Our crew always on top of it. They've always have a graphic ready to go for anything I say or do. Maple Grove, the defending champions, they take care of Stillwater 37-17. Hastings knocking off New Prague 20-17. Spring Lake Park beats Two Rivers 34-14. Blaine Best Lakeville North 21-14. Robbinsdale Armstrong over Burnsville 41-21. And we mentioned Coon Rapids coming next week for White Bear Lake. Osseo beat them 36 goose egg. So if White Bear Lake can get through and get out of here with the win, there's a real good chance they'll go 2-0 at least. Of course, what do I know? Watch, it'll be a 45-0 rout just because I said it. White Bear Lake will take a timeout here to beat the play clock. And with the clock already stopped, they won't hesitate to use it. So I can share a few more scores. St. Louis Park beats Minneapolis Southwest 27-21. Minneapolis North, they're always a force. A 45-7 win over Simley. Breck blanks the Harding-Humboldt Co-op 42-0. Hill Murray with a big win over Chisago Lakes, their section rival, 52-15. Champlain Park beats St. Michael Albertville 21-12. Bloomington Kennedy rocking Minneapolis Roosevelt 45-7. Woodbury gets the shutout over Roseville 23-0. Ricori and Totino Grace in the closing stages there, 8-7 in favor of Ricori. Those two usually in the conversation in Class 4A. 3rd and 3, the game likely comes down to this play. Animasan with the quick sling and the catch for the first down. It's Byron White, who has made several big plays today. And White will officially pick up 8 yards on the play, but with 3:21 left and just one timeout left for the Wolfpack, that's going to do it. Timeout. It's taken by Park. That's their last with 3:20 to go. But playing this out, we'll take a look at Park's schedule since I went through all the scores, but playing this out, White Bear Lake, I suspect, will make a couple of runs at least. Again, for the Wolfpack, Stillwater is next, and starting the season against Maple Grove. That's one of the toughest teams you can face in 6A. Forest Lake follows. Hopkins could be winnable. Wayzata, they're always a team you have to keep an eye on. The Wolfpack will get Coon Rapids October 3rd. That could be a winnable game. And Roseville, who just got shut up by Woodbury, perhaps another opportunity. Again, the Wolfpack 2-7 a year ago. They did lead 14-7 in this game before a series of little things added up in a big way. 3:20 left. White Bear Lake fans saying start the buses. Parker Cottage Grove. They're doing what they can. Brian White stopped at the 40 for a 3-yard loss, but White Bear Lake, I think they'll be content just to run the ball and eat up a ton of clock. You can chew up about 2 minutes or so. And when you have a 2-possession lead, you can afford to play more conservatively. Wolfpack out of timeouts, so there's nothing they can do to stop the clock. And I don't think White Bear Lake is going to be in any hurry to pass the ball here. Another run to White. And again, gain of 1. Actually, no gain when they move the ball back to the 40. But again, that's really not the point. The 2-minute mark, there's 20 seconds left on the play clock, so White Bear Lake can run another play and get this game clock down to about a minute. with 3rd and 13. It would be flat out absurd to throw it, and they give it to White up the middle. Takes the pile with him. Gains about 5 yards, but again, that's irrelevant to the underlying mission of the Bears. In this situation, again, you'd be out of your mind to consider a passing play and give your opponent a free timeout, but we have 15 seconds left on the play clock, so White Bear Lake can take this down to about 53 seconds. They do have a couple of timeouts left. I suspect they'll let the play clock run to 1 and then take one. A timeout, that is. And that's indeed what they do. 53 seconds left. I've seen my share of football, so I have a sense of time management strategy. We'll take another look at the schedule that's coming up for us. I'll be with you for the next couple of dates. September 5th, Highland Park and Matamidi, the Scots and the Zephyrs at Matamidi. And then September 9th, we're back here at White Bear Lake Stadium for a soccer doubleheader with Woodbury. September 16th, it's girls volleyball with the Wolfpack of Park of Cottage Grove and the Bears of White Bear Lake. That's coming up live on SCC TV. We began our new season on Monday, and it's always an exciting time to kick off the football season for most of the schools. We'll have a few more tomorrow, and then everyone will take Labor Day weekend off before we get into the fall swing. 53 seconds left. The start of a new year always brings a pleasant vibe, or at least it did until yesterday. White Bear Lake will go for it on 4th down, and Anima-san just throws it away. At the start of the broadcast and before the game kicked off, there was a moment of silence again to acknowledge the victims of the unfortunate tragedy at Annunciation Church and School. And once again, we want to send our support to anyone watching. Certainly not what anyone hopes for when they start a school year, and it can be difficult to push forward, but as we've seen time and again, no matter what comes at you, good, bad, indifferent, that's what everyone here, the players, the coaches, the fans, are doing their best to accomplish, as the Wolfpack will start with 46 seconds left at their own 45. A lot would have to happen. 35, I should say. Would be in alignment of the Cosmos, but that's a good start as the deep pass is caught by Kambande. That will stop the clock to move the chains as they spot the ball at the 31. A gain of 34 yards, but again, no timeouts. And the clock working against the Wolfpack here, 35 seconds. They're still not set. Time ticking away. Tick, 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 as Scott Van Pelt would say. 30 seconds now. Wolfpack, they got to go. They ate up a lot of time waiting for everyone to get in motion. Erickson going for the back shoulder grab, and it is complete. Kamande with a couple of big catches. That stops the clock with 19 seconds. The Wolfpack trying to make it count. A gain of 26. White Bear Lake will take a timeout. They had one left. I'm a little surprised they would do that. Of course, they got burned for a couple of big passing plays by Erickson to Kamande, but you don't call the timeout, the clock is running again. As we take another look, Erickson, back shoulder throw, although Commande had to work for it, outmaneuvering Aiden Mahmoud. But Commande adding 60 receiving yards in the last 2 plays. Perhaps White Bear Lake taking the timeout to get reset and prevent Park from scoring the touchdown. But with the clock against them, I would have said let it run. But here we go. Quick screen to Commande, and he's tackled. Now the Wolfpack, that's going to do it. Even if they score here, there's not going to be enough time left. Time ticking away, and that's going to do it. They don't get the snap off in time, and White Bear Lake wins it 28-14. Their defense doing the dirty work in the second half. And as we noted, with Coon Rapids getting shut out by Osseo, White Bear Lake's next opponent, there's a good chance they'll go 2-0. As we'll take a look at our highlights from the game. It was a wild first half. Again, Park of Cottage Grove led early thanks to a play from Eston Erickson to Nolan Cease. Cease would later have a touchdown throw of his own negated by a holding call, and that proved to be nightmarish. Later on, White Bear Lake evens the score. This was one of the big momentum swings. Easton Miles runs into Mahmoud, coughs it up, Commande picks it up, and then a punch out by Baca leads to a fumble recovery by Teddy St. Martin. On the very next play, Tomi Animasan dashes and slashes his way for 56 yards and the touchdown. That tied it up at 14 going into halftime. Second half, Animasan with his first and only touchdown pass, finding Byron White, who was off balance, made the run. Then we get a bad snap, scramble for the ball. And this came after a holding call negated a Park of Cottage Grove touchdown. William McQuay picks it up and runs it in from 35 yards out. And that was the end of it as the student section storms the field to join their fellow student athletes who rule the gridiron tonight. That highlight package showed a lot, and there were a lot of plays we didn't have time to fit that told the story as well. But what it came down to, ultimately, Park of Cottage Grove had a lot of those little miscues, high snaps, penalties. They all added up, and that left too big an obstacle to overcome. White Bear Lake, in the first meeting with Park of Cottage Grove in 11 years, picks up where they left off. I don't think any of these kids will remember it. The victory from 2014 it is, but they will remember this one, a 28-14 win to start the new season with the victory. And again, a good chance to go to 2-0 next week with Coon Rapids. Join us again next Friday for high school football once again at Matamidi, the Scots and the Matamidi Zephyrs. Live starting at 7 o'clock. Until then, for the SCC crew, this is Mike Beaton reminding you to help control the pet population. Have your pets spayed or neutered. Thanks for watching live coverage on SCC Sports.